So a couple of things. I know we have a commissioner that is running late. I also know we have a commissioner that has to leave early. I know it seems like we have a packed agenda. I'm definitely not going to rush through anything, but I also kind of just want to be mindful that I don't, however long it takes, but you guys know I'm kind of like about just being efficient with our time. So I just kind of wanted to make sure I put that. We can go ahead and open this up with a vote and go from there.
Motion to open.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Nelson, I think I saw you say aye, but I'm gonna make sure I get a thumbs up or something. All right, thank you so much. All right, we're all in aye. So the first thing on our meeting agenda is, y'all, the discussion of the FY 2025 budget. Allocations for our, well, not for our, but for the Prince George's County Fair Elections Commission. And this is probably going to slide into all of the other parts that are on the meeting agenda today, because they're all interrelated to some degree. But if you know, we had our last meeting, we had a conversation, and where it came up that $400,000 was allocated to the fund from the county executive. You know, we had a very robust conversation around that. Of course, we asked for more. But we didn't want to look like we were, you know, in conflict with the county council, but we did give them, you know, our recommendation based on, you know, studies and based on the reports that were done by the administration and OMB and things of that nature. So them not putting in the full funding would have been detrimental. And it is, because the county council decided to remove the $400,000 that was allocated by the county executive to the Fair Elections Fund for this year. So essentially, for this year, we're still at the initial $400,000 that was put into the fund the first time. So we're not up to $800,000. We're still at $400,000. The chair of the county council, Jolene Ivy, sent out a communication to the public stating that just because the funds were extremely tight, that she couldn't find any room to fund the budget as allocated. And that's what she sent out. What I will say is that our county executive allocated $400,000. So our county executive did find money to put in there, and that money was removed by the county council. And we can have a discussion kind of about that in context to the success of the program, because our jobs as commissioners are to provide them with recommendations. We also have to do a report, which I want to get to. And those recommendations are on making sure the program is a success as much as possible. Now, obviously, we've had this conversation before about them making decisions. That is definitely their choice. But our job is to say, like, hey, this is what you should do. And if you make this decision, this is how this will impact the success of the program. And so kind of going from that space, I will open it up. I would like to hear from everybody, but I'm also a fan of, you know, if you feel like speaking, step up. And if you don't, that's fine as well.
Hi, this is Commissioner Williams. Is it my understanding that the county executive did approve the additional $400,000 and then the county council did not allocate it?
Essentially, when the county executive put forth her budget, she put forth the budget, she had allocated $400,000 to the Fair Election Fund. This is in addition to the initial $400,000 that she had put in. That would have gone in for this cycle. When the county council had time to review, negotiate, whatever may have you, moving the money around, they felt as though, and this is from the county council chair's own words, they felt as though the money could be put somewhere else. And so they removed it from that allocation.
Yeah, I
Oh,
just
go
wanted to
go
add
ahead,
to that.
Commissioner
Yeah, I just
Singh.
wanted to add to that, and maybe Ms. Wiggins can clarify. It's my understanding that the way it goes is there are some negotiations between the council chair and the executive staff and some agreements done. This is towards the end of the budget process, and that the council leadership brings the final budget to the council's attention for a vote, and each council member can vote it up or down, but as an entire package. And then the executive has a right to veto whatever the council has done. So there are various checks along the way. Should anybody choose to exercise that, but there's also some consensus process that happens before the budget goes for a vote before the council. Is that correct, Ms. Warner?
To be honest, I'll have to check in on I'm not sure if the county executive has the ability to veto the county council's decision with regard to the budget. That's something I would have to find out about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think so, and I'm gonna let you fact check, but we also have, I guess, Mr. Bell on the line. I believe that she can line item veto certain things from their budget. But a holistic veto, Miss Bell, sorry. Miss Bell, I was talking about you. That's who I saw. Hey, Miss Bell. I'm sorry, y'all. Hey, Miss Bell. Okay. Getting back on topic. I think that she can line item veto, but I'm not necessarily sure if she can veto the whole thing. So that's my understanding, but we can get clarified. Miss Bell shaking her head, yes. Okay. Are you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. That's correct. So the county executive submits her budget. The county council can rearrange, if you will, reallocate certain items. But that's the extent. There's no overall change or increase in the dollar amount. I think that's the best way to explain it.
Okay. And can the county executive like line item veto or change anything that they have changed?
I'll have to double check that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'll double check that just to make sure I'm giving you correct information.
Okay.
So my understanding, I've never heard of that occurring. I've never seen that, in my memory. And of course, I don't follow this as detailed as some, so I've never heard of that. But, my understanding is that the reality is that the council chair and vice chair are the negotiators for the council, and that they do the heavy lifting of back and forth and moving the money around and, negotiating with the county executive and come up with an overall package that they can sell to the whole council. And so, the county executive, the county council chair and vice chair decided, and then the whole council supported that, but they decided there's something more important for the 400,000 than the fair election fund. That's what they did. So, I found that disappointing and troubling, and we went to a great deal of effort to articulate a proposal and then to really dive in a little bit more and to lay out some options of how a successful program could be done with less than the original amount we had recommended. And they still didn't, and there was no conversation and there was no opportunity for questioning or back and forth or anything. And so that's disappointing. And where I think the reality is, so we're now 1 year out from, it'll be a year from July 1st that the finance director has to certify whether there's enough funds. So it's a year before the primary. Are there enough funds available for the program to work? And if not, then I think the way the law reads, if the Office of Finance Director can reallocate or declare that there's not enough funding or how it could be allocated. And right now, $400,000 is doesn't seem to me as anything that would really work. So I think one of the things that we just would be important to do for the next whatever couple of meetings is really take a deep dive and like really look at what would be what's necessary funding wise for a successful program. And I think that could be a discussion that we could start, but that probably needs to continue. And we did lay out in that second letter on the budget a couple of options how I think it was like like how 1.2 million total could really work. And then I think even more optimistically if it was 1.6 million, how the scenarios we laid out there. So that's where I would think we need to look at what's the minimum amount for a successful program.
Definitely by July 1st of 2025. I will say, and Commissioner Williams, I'm gonna pick my words carefully. What I will say is that it feels like there was already a predetermined decision. I can't speak to anyone else's motivations or what's going on in their mind. I can only deal with the facts that were given to me as we were been on this commission. We provided letters, we reached out, we asked to be seen, we asked to go in front of them. I know they have people come in front of the council all the time out of juncture in context to certain things. It was not out of the realm of possibilities for us to come and to present to them, definitely before the decision was made. And it just seemed like with all the rebuffing of having at least one of us come and say, hey, this is what's going on, this is how this can affect, that a decision had kind of already been determined. But again, that's just how I feel. I'm not saying that is what is the situation. That being said, again, this impacts, their decision really impacts the program. And I want to what Commissioner Smith was saying, I do want us to switch over for the next couple of meetings and talk about what's necessary for the program to really be successful in regards to funding and even with advertising by July 1st. Because that is really important in context to just like the program in itself, particularly as we're going to be giving them the recommendations in regards to how the program would succeed. So in moving to that discussion, yes, Ms. Jackson.
Oh no, I'll wait till you finish.
No, you can go ahead.
Oh no, well, it seems like the consensus is if we're able to appeal their decision, that we would move forward with doing that as far as them denying the $400,000 additional add to the budget. If that possibility exists, that we would move forward with trying to do that.
Oh, we try to do everything that we could do before in May.
Yeah,
and so there's nothing to appeal at this point. They done signed the paperwork.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
now we're trying to come up with like the numbers that are needed to be successful for by July 1st, 2025. Really.
Okay.
I saw Commissioner Teacher have her hand up first, and then I will go to Commissioner Williams.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I've put in the chat the document that was from the county council's package as they discussed the budget. It has a list of monies proposed by the executive, monies proposed by the council, and the change. So you can go through that document that was on the council package, if you like. And yeah, I mean, I think just to get back to Ms. Jackson's point, the budget has passed, the monies have been allocated as they have been It does not mean there is no movement of monies during the budget year. But how those happen and for what reasons, I don't think. I don't know if anybody else knows how and why those happen, but I have not delved into the details of that.
Just generally speaking, it is possible for my understanding is that it typically is generated or initiated by the Office of Management and Budget. There are times where they may request a supplemental budget for various reasons. And so it's possible that something like that may happen at some point during the year. And then that would have to go to County Council for approval.
Thanks.
So is it my understanding that you're saying that a supplemental budget could be presented regarding this $400,000 that we asked for now?
I'd say it's possible. I don't know exactly under what circumstances that would be something that the Office of Management and Budget would put forward. But supplemental budgets do occur.
I'm gonna go to Commissioner Satitra and Commissioner Dan, but our council has her hand up. Ms. Bell?
I was going to suggest that and I know we had this young lady in the past from OMB to attend the meeting. Maybe it would be a good idea to have her to attend to explain the supplemental process, and if that's an option. Just a suggestion.
She can come on our July meeting. Us, Commissioner Satitra, and then Commissioner Dan.
Yeah, just looking at timetables, I think the legislation requires some people with open campaign accounts to actually file by the end of this June if they have used a certain amount of money from their accounts and they wish to run publicly financed. So those people are not in a position to make that decision now with just $400,000 in the budget. I mean, they can't say they won't run a traditional campaign if there is no money in the budget. So I think, in that sense, this lack of money has tied their hands, and that was required by the legislation.
Commissioner Dan?
Yeah, I think I would agree that the that this lack of funding complicates that, so that but I think there's an opportunity to, we could get the law amended so that there's another year for those who have open accounts to close those or freeze those and declare and go in public financing. I think that could be done. So it sounds like we've got two opportunities. The main opportunity is the next fiscal year 26 budget, and including provision in that. If it's a supplemental, then someone has to identify where the money comes from. So it would have to come out of some other account. And that's where we don't want to be. I think we want to be real careful we don't get into the discussion about, oh, let's get it from this, because we don't want to be seen as critical or, like raiding someone else's funds. So, but there could be OMB or, a neutral party or the council, it's a huge budget, and there very well could be some parts that, oh, we overestimated, or we have to defer funding, we can't. So we do have a little bit more funding, so that I think that would be a good, I think it would be helpful to have somebody from OMB come just to explain that, so that maybe we could have a request to the appropriate folks that if there's an identifiable, amount of money that could be available for something, that we would request that it be considered for this. I think that would be a good thing, because even if we got 200,000 or whatever we would get out of this budget, means that for the next fiscal year budget, it would be less. And we just need to be clear that already the council chair and I think all the fiscal people in the county are saying the budget's not going to get any better for next year. It's going to be worse, the deficit. So if they've already made a decision that, well, the budget was bad this year, so we can't fund this, it's going to be an uphill battle and an uphill challenge to get money back in there. And so anyway, if there's any way we could get that started this year, that would be great. So one of the questions is really, how important is the program to us? I think some people would just say, well, what are the options? Well, money's not tight, so we'll put it off to 2030. And maybe we should even look at that. Well, if you put it off to 2030, how much money should be allocated every year to get there? Because the reason we got in this position in the first place is they punted, and they created a program and they didn't fund it until last year. There were like, what did we identify? 4 cycles that they could have put money in. So even if you wanted to do it in 2030, there needs to be a certain amount put in there now and each year prior to that so that there's the full amount. So are we going to have a program or not? And if we're going to have a program, that it needs to be funded. And the longer period, obviously, the less you have to put in each year, but you still have to put some in every year, or you have a cliff and you have to just put it all in at one. And that doesn't seem to make very good fiscal sense.
I want to go to Commissioner Williams. I want to highlight something that you said, Commissioner Dan. So I think there's 3 opportunities. There's the opportunity for the supplemental we need to get more information on. There's the opportunity in the for the budget next year, but then also we probably need to agree on drafting a letter to talk about changing the law in context to how is affecting current people and able to actually use the Fair Election Fund. I think that needs to be definitely discussed and talked about. We don't have it on our agenda this month, but we definitely need to talk about that and put that out there, because essentially if the law needs to be changed because it hasn't been fully funded, and then we are hearing, hey, we're not going to have a lot of money next year either. These are all things that we need to think about to prepare somebody if they would want to run publicly financed. And then Commissioner Williams.
Moving forward with the 2026 budget, I think we need to find out what are the procedures that we could get on the agenda for the county council and for the county executive and explain our position so we won't fall into what we felt in this time because we were too late and it was a whole lot of back and forth. I think if we could find out what the proper procedure is to get on county council and the county executive schedule, and we go in and discuss our issues regarding the budget and the funding for 2026. Is that
agreed? Agreed. I know that timeline. I agree with you, Commissioner Williams. I know the timeline would be we'd probably want to get on the county executive's calendar by like January or February, and then get on the county council's calendar by February or March. In regards to the county council, I know that's just emailing whoever is the administrator of the county council at the time. I think currently it is a Miss Jennifer. And then for the county executive, I would need to know or we would need to know how to get in front of her or him or whoever the county executive is, preferably a her again.
right?
Commission.
So
I'm sorry.
Look into that. Can we look into that so we can be proactive?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Teacher.
Right. I just want to say there's no reason we need to wait that long to have a conversation, because we have had this setback. And I think, we can approach the executive staff and the council chair and have this conversation now. And I also wanted to say that it's not as if, while the bill was passed in 2018, this council revised the language of the bill just shortly before the budget was put in, which is in October 2023. This council passed that bill 10-1, and this executive signed that bill. So really, I mean, this council and executive knew this program was front and center in their minds because they passed the bill just shortly in October 2023, just shortly before the budget was put in.
Well, I think if we
Commissioner.
do it close. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. We could do, yeah, you saying we could do both, Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, I think what I'm talking about, I'd rather do it closer to the time of the 2026 bill. I think what, maybe, I can never pronounce your name.
Teacher, Commissioner Teacher.
I think you're talking about the situation where, you know, we didn't get the money and all of that. I think that needs to be addressed too, but I think it should be a different time.
I think I agree with you both. We can do it. We can definitely do it closer to 2026 while understanding that we need to be kind of having communications with them prior to, even if we wanted to talk about the supplemental part that we're trying to figure out if that can happen. And the supplemental this year would obviously be so that next year we can kind of come with a stronger, hey, since you put in, you know, 200K or 300K on the back end, our request now is a little bit smaller, but it's always about how much really needs to go into the fund to be a successful program, particularly now that we have to shift. I see you, Commissioner Dan, the timeline in regards to really making sure, since it has to be certified by 2025, July 1st, we have the money. Go ahead, Commissioner Dan.
Yeah, I think it would, I was wondering if any of our staff representatives would know what committee of the county council would we kind of report to or go through, because it would seem like one option for us would be to request, you know, an opportunity to brief the appropriate committee. Maybe it's government operations, not sure which one, and that maybe we could go there in say September and just do a briefing about the program and sort of some of the options that we have that we've identified going forward. Some of the, you know, the setback from this lack of funding, but the possibilities of making it a success and kind of beginning that discussion. So I think that would be something I would like us to discuss and see about as a possibility. And then the other thing, because I need to go in about 10 minutes, but I would still like us to do some public education or outreach. And so having like a forum or more than one, but to explain the program, where we are, and some of these options that we see, and then see if we could get some feedback from the community about, just so that we're transparent and lay it out there, and then also get feedback from the community. So I think that would be something that I'd be interested in working on some of that over the summer, to see if we could do some sort of a forum with, and maybe we could have the League of Women Voters or some other organizations host something, or host something, and let's see how it goes. You know, something we talked about earlier, putting together a program.
I like that. I really liked you. We had kind of talked about this previously. I really like the idea of going to North, Central, and South County, going to those three areas within the county and doing a presentation. If we could partner with local organizations such as the League of Women Voters, Prince George's County chapter of the NAACP. I've reached out to a couple of organizations, and they are willing to partner with us in regards to the presentations. I wanted to touch on the presentations in itself. I know we have like another presentation. I know we have a presentation that we're going to give out and that we're going to utilize, but I just been thinking about it more and more and more. The whole reason why we have this program is because of the wave nationally and locally of people who want to support grassroots candidates that are connected to the community. I'm trying to find a way for us to communicate that without coming off like we're bashing incumbents or anything like that. But that's, to be honest, that's the facts. You know, that's not that's the facts. We have these fair election commissions throughout the country because grassroots candidates who the community really connects with, it's shown time and time again that because they don't have the financial backing, they might not get into office, and a lot of the community members wanted their support. And so that is going to be kind of the framing when we talk to these groups and things of that nature, and just making sure that comes off as appropriate as possible, but that's the truth. Commissioner Teacher.
Yeah, thanks. That was very good. I just went, I knew there was a point that I was trying to get from an email that the council chair sent when the budget was passed. And I found that email, and this is the piece that says why, about the funding being removed from the Fair Elections Fund. And I just put it in the chat. It says the Fair Election Fund is important to help people run for office, but need financial help to do so, but we couldn't commit funding to it in this budget cycle. And I think this is, to follow up on Ms. Parker's point, it's not about poor people needing financial help to run for office. It is about improving the democracy in the county. It is about allowing marginalized voices to have their representatives run for office representing them. So I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done in explaining the program. It makes it look like it's a handout, but it's a matching contribution the county makes that matches what the taxpaying citizen has already made. So I think, I really think there is a lot that needs to be done to improve sort of the understanding and the conversation around the program, because it's been 8 years almost since the bill was originally passed, and we haven't done a lot of outreach since those days in 2017 and 2018.
Okay. We've been talking about wait, can y'all hear me? Okay, good. We've been talking about the budget decision, and we've also talked about the program success, which we will do a deeper dive. Commissioner Dan, we will do a deeper dive in the next meeting. And I do want to make sure that we have the young lady from OMB to give us a conversation around the supplemental budget. In that one, I wanted to talk briefly as much as we can, and while Commissioner Dan is on, about the end of election cycle program review and report. Now, this is a report that we have to present the county council with at the end of an election cycle. And I kind of wanted us to start drafting it in real time to what is actually happening with decisions and things of that nature. It can be harder to look back on something as opposed to drafting something in real time. Hey, this is the timeline of what we did. We sent out this, we sent out that, we sent these letters, we also did this, we did that. On top of that, we told you guys we needed this amount of money for the program on this date. We asked to come speak in front of y'all. This amount of funding didn't go in. I would like for us to begin a document that kind of starts to draft the program in real time, so that by the time that we get to the end of the election cycle, and probably a month within the time that it's due, we're not trying to pull from threads of emails and other notes and things of that nature to put together this report. Commissioner Dan? You're on mute.
Point of clarification, when you say the end of the election cycle, I presume you mean like 2026, after the 2026 elections, like 2.5 years from now. And that's an important thing, but also we have an annual recommendation that I think serves as a report. So that would be something that would have our recommendation for next year. And I think, given what Commissioner Williams said about getting ahead of the recommendation cycle, we could talk about, do we want to have that recommendation like ready to go in November? Say,
Yeah.
when the county executive begins discussions about their budget so that we can increase our chances. So that report I would see would be the most important, but we have to keep our eyes on the prize, and we do have to judge the whole 4-year cycle. And that, but all the ones we do in the interim, I think would feed into and be part of the material we would draw from to do the final one.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm just always thinking in context of, when I think of a final report and things of that nature, I'm always thinking of doing it continuously, as opposed to like, we're meeting in October and it's due in November and we're trying to pull all these threads. Just trying to be a little bit proactive. I do agree that an annual report and our annual recommendations and something being drafted, created for November is perfect. I'm all for it. And it goes into what Commissioner Williams was saying and Commissioner Teacher was saying about A, getting in front of the conversation, and then B, having something when we get closer to the budget cycle. So I'm definitely in agreement with that, and using that in the end of the year cycle program review. Commissioner Teacher, you're on mute.
Just to sort of remind that there might be an upheaval in November after the elections, and we don't know the cycle in which the budget will be done and by whom the budget will be done if there's a change in governance. So maybe we ought to send a letter sooner with our thoughts on this budget, and sort of, there's no reason why we can't do a calculation now for next year. I mean, we know we've already done that in the previous letter. So we might want to send that in sooner rather than later.
Bye, Commissioner Dan. I have no problem with sending a letter, let's say it's June, having something drafted to talk about by July so that we can vote on it. I have no problem with that. I don't have a problem with our conversation being consistent with the county council and the county executive. As a side note, I'll phrase this. I was provided with some sort of statute to indicate the policies of reaching out to the county council. I can share it with y'all offline. It didn't meet the criteria of what I would believe would be the standard of a policy or a procedure in regards to where information would go strictly to the chair. So I'll share that with you guys offline in my reasoning. So moving forward, I think it's more than appropriate to direct things to the chair. I think it's more than appropriate to do that and CC it to everyone else as we have done in the past. And again, I can share that with y'all offline. But back to this particular point of the conversation, I don't mind sending them a letter in July or August, outlining the impacts of the lack of funding, maybe a request for the supplemental budget. By that time, we'll have someone from OMB come to kind of give us a little bit more clarity, as also giving the suggestion of changing the timeline in the legislation for when people have to like freeze their accounts and things of that nature. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, September is fine too. What are your thoughts on that?
So I was going to suggest when we get to the point about talking about the website, that we put all this up there, including the current status of the funding and so on, so that people are aware of where things stand and how they should plan, because otherwise, how does anybody know? So when we put down, this is what the regulations currently say. Just to interrupt myself, I did at one point have a conversation with Mr. Jared Demarinis, the elections administrator who has run this program for other counties, very efficiently. And he suggested that maybe the 2-year limit for people with existing campaign contributions, maybe too much, and maybe we should move it to a year. So I'm just, want to throw that out in a conversation that I had with him. So we might want to have the council consider that. But I think putting all this out, because if you're a candidate running for office and you don't know that all these steps are needed and where things stand right now, it would be good to put this in some context on the website, the program, the manual, what it's for, where it currently stands, all of that stuff. That's what I was going to suggest.
And we can slide into that conversation in a second. I just wanted to make sure I got all of the commissioners who wanted to give input on that particular question around what are your thoughts around creating a letter asking about the possibility of a supplemental budget to go towards the funding, giving maybe a forecast of what we would need, what will be needed or asking for 2026, as well as the suggestion from Commissioner Teacher and Commissioner Dan about pushing that, making that window smaller, as that now people who may be looking at possibly using this fund might be a little scared or hesitant because it's not fully funded. So I just kind of wanted to get the feedback of if Ms. Tolson or Ms. Jackson or Ms. Nelson, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Tolson, Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Nelson, and Commissioner Williams. I got it, Commissioner Williams. Got it. If you guys wanted to say anything, or if you didn't, that's fine. I always just want to make sure I give space and room for everyone's thoughts on that, or anything, to be quite frank.
What was that question again? It was a long leeway.
It was a compound question. I would
Yes.
the judge would definitely tell me break it down. So it was a request around your thoughts of drafting a letter to be sent in September. The letter would consist of 3 parts. First, a conversation around if there's any room for a supplemental budget to be put in so that we could get some funding in the Fair Elections Commission this cycle. And then also if a forecast of what will happen, or what will be requested or what will need to be requested for 2026. And then the third thing would be a suggestion around changing the legislation now to give more time for the current people who are running to freeze their accounts and such. Sorry, I had to break that down.
And so the audience for this letter is the council.
Yes, the council and the county executive.
Okay. It doesn't hurt to sort of reiterate those things. Chances are is that she did earmark this money, which was quickly whisked away. So I think that makes it pretty clear where they stand. But it can't, worst case, they just say, thank you. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think the suggestion for the supplemental budget is wonderful. I want to do the forecasting close to the budget year, which is 2026. And I think it would be very difficult to make changes in legislation.
No, they can not in this. They've amended. Go ahead.
Are they the ones that make the legislation, and they those are the particular entities?
Yep. The county. Yes, ma'am. Our county council is the one that made the fair elections legislation for Prince George's County. So every county has their own like fair elections fund or commission, and they decided the rules around that. But then there's like the statewide state board of elections that, has an overarching, I guess, impact or input in relation to that. Commissioner Teacher can better explain it if my words aren't. But we, as the county council of Prince George's County, for Prince George's County, they've created that legislation. Yes.
But if I was in their situation, I would look at it as, well, we haven't even tried this one. We haven't even got it started. So why are we changing it? I think that last one to me is.
So, okay, so what they're changing is the timeline for people to freeze their accounts. They're not changing like they're not changing, I'll phrase this a certain way.
So we're giving them more time to freeze?
Yes, we're giving the people who want to run under fair elections more time to like freeze their account based on the fact that we didn't fully fund it this election cycle. So they could be looking at it like, well, I don't know if I really want to run fair elections, or, you know, or even if I really want to run, because I'm concerned that there's not going to be money for me by the time that I decide to run.
Okay. Well, I think that's a fair dialogue to have with them.
Okay. Commissioner Teacher.
Yeah, and I think you said it well. I just wanted to, just reiterate the point that some people are required to file by this June, the June of this year. And obviously they can't do that. Those are people who've run campaigns before, have open campaign accounts, and have spent a certain amount of money from that. So this was put in order to prevent people from gaming the system. Let me set up a fancy website, spend $10,000, then freeze my account, and then go into public financing. So, this is done from experience from other counties, and this was a suggestion made. But Mr. DeMarinis thought that maybe 2 years was too much, and 1 year would be sufficient time to freeze that account. So that's just the context for this.
Okay.
I agree that the letter would be a good idea. I was just listening to everyone, because it's almost like in response to the fact that you all didn't give us the money we requested. These are the things that we are now requesting in order to kind of, level things out. So I think it's fair, and we're still advocating for those, that need a voice. So I like it. I like the idea.
And I was just thinking maybe Ms. Warner-Wiggins or Ms. Bell could jump in, but when you say reapportioning money during the budget year, it's sort of, I think of household budgets where you have sort of, money allocated, but then certain things don't need as much and certain things need more. So there is the flexibility for the council to move monies around. Is that how we should view it?
I think that's the reason why I think we should have someone from OMB come to specifically explain that, because my understanding is when the county executive submits her budget, the council can move line items around, but can't change the total dollar amount at the end. So that's why I suggested we have someone from OMB just to make sure that that's correct.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess based off of what Commissioner Parker was saying was that if you have that understanding that they can move things around, but the bottom line stays the same, that it kind of highlights their priorities. And so if you are constantly taking money from fair elections, then it kind of looks at what their priorities may be. Would that be fair?
I don't think I can say that. That's for them to determine.
Commissioner Parker, what do you think?
Listen, Ms. Bell said you ain't getting her in trouble on this call.
My apologies, Ms. Bell. I wasn't trying to point you out. I was more like, Commissioner Parker, would that be kind of what you were kind of thinking when you said when people were looking into whether or not they had to get into it, you kind of see they're allocating those monies, it's like, oh, this is where the priority could be education. That sounds better, Ms. Bell. It could be education, it could be health, stuff like that.
And I think agreed, Commissioner Nelson. And I think you make a good point, which is I think what Commissioner Dan was kind of alluding to as to us not really like trying to figure out where it's coming from. Now I got some suggestions, but no, like it's really good for us not to try to get into that conversation because it's really the county council's, decision. And we don't want to come off like, hey, take it from the animal shelter. And, like, we're like, what's happening to the puppies?
Dog, Lord Jesus.
Right. Look, the bunnies are gone. We don't want to get into that. That's not our job. But we do want to say like, hey, we know money can be shifted around. This is a priority. And if we don't do something, these things can happen as well. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good point to kind of try to make. And then, like I said, when I know for me, I really do. I hope that it's, that it's reflected, but I really do take all of your input highly in consideration. And so I really do want to be careful when we're going around for the presentations, because it's a very thin line, because the reason why there are fair elections are because there's a lot of grassroots candidates that are in office that people feel like may have better served the community. And that's why there's this push for that. We can slide into the conversation around the website content and then future meetings. Commissioner Satitra.
Yeah, just quickly, is it possible to get a response, sort of a quicker response from OMB on this question, and then have them come as well to the next meeting? But meanwhile, could we get a response from them on how these special allocations are made, or changes in budget, just so we can get our wheels kind of spinning in the next month?
So you mean the supplemental budget piece of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That would be
We
great.
could do that. And also, just if it's helpful, I was just looking at the county code around adoption of the budget. And it says, after the final public budget hearing, the council may not add new items, but may increase, decrease, or delete any items in the budget except those required by the laws of the state or of the county. And they have no power to change the form of the budget as submitted by the executive or alter the revenue estimates, except to correct mathematical errors, or by a vote of 2/3 of the members of the full county council, to adjust the revenue estimates by increase or decrease of no more than 1%. So there's no, I don't see anything in here about veto power of the budget for the county executive. And I think the key piece is that they can't add anything to the budget, but they can increase or decrease or delete items in the budget that aren't required by law. And the fact that they can't adjust the revenue estimates means that for all intents and purposes, means that they can't increase to the point of increasing the budget if they have no ability to say that there's revenues to cover that.
Okay. Okay. All right. I think we've got an idea of how we're going to move forward. Moving forward in the next month. I do want to, at the July meeting, nail down who we're going to be presenting to. So I really encourage you to go into that document that I sent out, fill it out. I know I'll be filling it out in the next 2 weeks about who I've reached out to and who we can present to, with the thought of getting in front of or having at least 3 locations within the North, South, and Central County. And Ms. Warner-Wiggins, I guess we would reach out to you in regards to advertising it. Yes.
Yeah, so in terms of so the Office of Community Relations has indicated that they'd be willing to send out any advertising or materials that we would like to send to their list of organizations. They're not willing to share the list with us to do it ourselves, but they're willing to do it on our behalf.
Okay, well, I guess, okay. Okay. I mean, if they CC us, I mean, because if we get a CC on that, okay. But go ahead. I feel like Ms. Commissioner Williams, were you going to say something?
Yes, Madam Chair. Do we
Yes,
need
ma'am.
authorization from anyone that we're under, this commission is under, to let them know this is our intent to go out in the public?
I don't think so. But if it would make you feel more comfortable, who do you think that? I feel like we would just tell them, like,
Well,
hey,
Well,
like,
I know on the other commissions, we have like the executive director, and then they filter it through somebody else. So I just wanted to make sure that we need to filter. If we need approval, I'm not saying we need it, But I think we need to know, do we need it? And if we need it, we need to filter it through someone. If not, then we're fine the way we're doing it.
Ms. Warner Wiggins, I would ask if we can, you don't think we need approval?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
Okay, can you just verify it for sure?
Mhm.
Please, thank you.
I don't even know who I would ask.
Yeah, because when you look at the legislation, it doesn't, we really, for lack of a better term, I said that 3 times. We don't really have oversight like that. We are the ones like giving recommendations, saying, hey, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. We don't really have someone come in and saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. We don't like, we kind of tell them, hey, this is what, we don't have any money coming into us directly. So I think that's why we don't have that oversight like that. And that's what my interpretation is when I read the law. But I'm always for checking. That's why, but to Ms. Warner Wiggins' point, I think that's why she's like, I don't even know who I would ask.
Can we just ask legal, the legal people that's on our team? How about that? Is this Ms. Bell?
Yep.
Yes.
You're the legal.
I kind of agree with Ms. Warner Wiggins. I don't think there's anything in the bill that requires that you get permission, because you're going out for an educational purpose to understand, to educate the potential candidates and the community about this legislation. So I don't think you need any approval, and I'm not sure, even if you did, who that would be. Yeah. The bill doesn't state that.
Okay, I'll take your advice. I just want to make
sure.
That's all.
And I appreciate it, Commissioner Williams. I'd be remiss if I didn't say I appreciate your thoroughness in this, just to make sure that we are all doing and operating as appropriate. I appreciate that. So now that we know that, we can ride out. Commissioner Williams, you and me. Good girls for life. All right. So we can slide into that conversation around the commission website content. I thoroughly agree with Commissioner Satitra. We gotta have that website with as much. I am always a fan. I'm always going to be a fan of more information, all the information, as much information as possible. A, because I'm a fan of transparency. B, because I never want anyone to think that we are meeting just to see our pretty faces. We doing work over here. And C, just so that, the people that, to be honest, have a responsibility to this information, or have a responsibility, if they want to do it, have all the information available. So Commissioner Satitra, can you give a little bit more context of what you would like to see on the website and the content as we're talking about it now?
Yeah, sure. So Ms. Warner Wiggins shared with us the website, or the portal where the commission information currently is, which has our agenda and minutes. But I think we want a Fair Elections Program website, Prince George's Fair Elections Program website, so people know what it's about, why it's there, how you run, put the manual, put access to the manual. I mean, just everything that people want, how much money there is, how much money you will get if you run for what seat, just put it down very simply on the website. So, and the reason why we have the program, it's not just to help poor people run for office, but to, improve democracy in the county, which is very different. So I think we should put that down. And so is it possible to get like a regular website, which looks, let me find out first what we have to do to get that.
I can speak to our Office of Information Technology about a separate website. I did speak to them about the options for adding additional content to the current site. They did say it was fine to add additional items as long as we don't change essentially the stuff near the top, because that's mandatory. Those are mandatory items for all the commissions that are included in that list. But we can add additional content as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of, regular looking website that, you know, so the minutes when agenda and stuff would be there in a corner that people could click on. But I think mostly people will be interested in saying, what is the program? Why is it there? You know, the bill, if people want to look at the bill, you know, the little things of, I mean, how do I run for office using public financing? How much do I get? How much do I raise? What happens to the money? You know, some things maybe we can just lift out of the manual and put it there as items that people can click and find, right? Versus thumbing through the entire document, which, I mean, which could be there as a reference, but you know, at the same time makes it easy for people who are flipping through to find out what this is about and talk about and whatever. We can put an email in there for people to contact. You know, the commission could set up a Gmail that we could all look at and just have the emails come there if we have questions, people have questions for us to look at and respond to or something. So just
I'll have to inquire about that as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure to what extent we could have an email address outside of the county's network. But I can ask.
Yeah, but we don't have emails in the county's network, right?
Right.
So if people want to contact the commission, how do they do that?
Well, the current email address, some
Who does it go to?
account, I have access to it, as do, I believe, one or two other people in my office. It would have to be a county employee.
Right. So I mean, we could, you know, we could put our emails down if we don't mind doing that, and just to have some people reach out to us with questions. And obviously, if you don't have the answers, it goes back to the staff to answer.
If
I don't
the,
know. I mean, yeah, we can figure that out. But I think having the information in there, the basic information in an accessible fashion. So somebody coming in from the outside says, what is this program? How does it work? It would be good.
if the county does not allow personal email, then, and it comes directly to you, then could you filter it on to the chair or the vice chair? Those emails?
Yes, anything that, yeah, I can always copy you or forward.
Chair, right.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And is there any way you can change my name from Agnes to A? Diane Williams.
You know, I don't know why Zoom is not allowing me to do that. I tried multiple times. Yes. I'll try again. I don't know why it won't save. But I will certainly try it again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we've had a conversation about the website content. Anyone else's feelings or thoughts around that they wanted to share at this time? Okay. I wanted to talk about future meetings. I definitely want to, for lack of a better term, give our commission a break at some point this summer. I mean, we met on Valentine's Day. We were meeting. We met in December. We've been meeting. So I was thinking, with the commission's, you know, vote of approval, if maybe August would be when we would recess for that month as well. July, we can kind of make that a little bit of a heavy meeting, you know, get everything that we need to get out as much as possible. We wouldn't meet in August physically, but we'd be talking via email. And that also would mean that September we'll probably hit the ground running, and we would coordinate any presentations or meetings that we would do, you know, in August or September prior to our September meeting via email or anything else. But I kind of thought we could decide on whether we would want to do that. So first, that's my thoughts. What are y'all thoughts? And then we could vote if y'all. Commissioner Nelson's like, yes, girl, yes. What are y'all thoughts?
This sounds like a good plan.
Okay, all right, okay. Got the vote of confidence from Commissioner Williams. I need Commissioner Tolson, Commissioner Jackson. Do I have y'all on board?
So before didn't someone put something in the chat about the county's out? I mean, they're not available in August, but we're planning to put something out in September.
No, we're going to be. Well, okay, I see what you're saying. Well, we would get that letter together in our July meeting.
Oh, because I was thinking maybe we should take off July and then come back in August. But either way.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get that letter together in our July meeting, and then we would also, any kind of additional conversation or votes we need to have, we could,
Do it virtual.
any additional conversation we need to have, we can have it in the email, like we've
Okay.
done kind of before.
Sounds good.
When
Mhm.
does the council recess? This one begins, do you know, in July? I thought it was sometime in July. Do we have a date?
They recess the entire month of August.
Yeah, but when in July do they start?
When in July, I'm sorry, do they?
Yeah, when in July do they
Stop. They
recess?
stop.
They stop
Okay.
sometime in July, right?
So
If there's a
I'm
calendar.
looking at the long range calendar now, and it looks like their last day in July is July the 16th. But they don't officially recess until the month of August.
Okay.
So just because they don't have anything on here after July 17th doesn't mean that they're in recess. Their official recess is the month of August.
So July, what
Oh.
did you say the last date was?
16.
The 16th.
So our meeting would be on the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
So we could still meet and approve the letter and send it off.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Let me just
Um,
correct that. Their last day on the virtual calendar, on the long range calendar is July wait a minute, I'm sorry. Yes, never mind. July 16th. I got it.
I
Okay.
did just want to interject is that the week before I vacation, I'm mentally vacationing. So if there's an email that you don't want me to see, that is the time to send it. But that's just me.
okay, so you're saying in your experience that
That's just
you
me.
are gone for that week before, and so that might subsequently be the feelings of some of our county council members.
Correct. That's it.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Well, I
will
mean,
keep that.
we've discussed the letter too at this meeting, so there's no
Yeah,
reason
and
to
I'll keep
draft
that in
and
mind.
share it now this
I'm-
month.
Yeah,
And get
and
it
I'm
approved.
sure oh, go ahead, Ms. Williams. I'm sorry, as a teacher, I keep cutting you off. Continue.
No, it's fine.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, I thought we indicated that we definitely was going to hear the OMP person before we decide on the supplemental agreement.
I think Ms. Warner Wiggins. Yeah, sorry.
Hold on,
I think
hold on,
Ms. Warner
finish up.
Wiggins is going to get us a response from the OMB.
Hold on. I think so first of all, I want Ms. Williams to finish, but I think what she was saying is that, are you saying that we are to hear from OMB first before we draft the letter in July?
Because whatever she tells us is determined on how we're going to address that about the supplemental.
Got it. And what you were saying, Commissioner Satitra, is that we are going to have the young lady present to us in July, but Ms. Warner Wiggins is going to get us an answer before July. Am I correct on what you were saying?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Ms. Warner Wiggins, in context of both of that. So we're going to get an answer before our meeting to help frame our letter. And then when we hear from her and get additional context, we all can make a decision at that time on July 10th about the finalized contents of the letter. Does that jive with everybody?
Yeah.
I could just let you know, just from prior experience, any kind of supplemental request typically would not hit the council until about January.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
I'm just
I think
letting
we
it's
just,
not like something that would happen in the summer or the fall.
well,
so-
not that's fine, but I think it's good because it gives context.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Okay. Oh goodness, I think there was something I was supposed to say, but it left my mind. Okay. Oh, Miss Tolson, I think Commissioner Tolson, I think you saw me when I gasped. I will say this, I'm sure our county council will come back after July 16th. I'm sure there's a whole bunch more proclamations they would love to do. So, anywho, all right. So, do I have a motion to, I guess, go on recess in August and have a July meeting, go on recess in August, and then come back in September with communications continuing in that time frame, us emailing each other, and then possibly planning for in-person presentations. Do I have a motion for that? Anyone want to do that motion? That's a lot.
That is the longest motion ever.
It is.
So we want to, just so let me see if I can break it down. We
Sure.
want to recess in August.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You said like 3 things. What were the other things?
Recess in August.
Uh-huh.
Still be communicating via, I mean, that doesn't need to be said. I think we already know
those
that
are-
we'll still be
yep.
communicating. Yeah, so just recess in August and come back in September.
Keisha, you want to go on and make a motion?
I move that we accept the recommendations made by Chair Commissioner Parker.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Hold on.
Aye.
Ooh, aye.
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 All right. All right, y'all. We got us a vacation on the books. All right. If nothing else, we will I might see Miss Bell again in person. Hey, Miss Bell. But if nothing else, we'll be chatting via email. We'll reconvene via email in the conversations, and I can give y'all. It's 7:12. I can give y'all the rest of y'all night back. We getting out of here, baby. Listen.
Okay, 30 seconds.
I know.
I got some guidance on the
Oh.
vetoing. And so the county executive has the ability, could have vetoed the entire bill, budget bill, but that veto could have been overridden by 10-1 vote by the council. It's too late for any of that to happen, but in
I still
theory,
wanna-
that's what could have happened. She could have vetoed the whole thing, but then
I
they could have overridden it.
Which is why I understand that there are negotiations that happen
Yeah.
on each item with the executive staff and the council chair, and vice chair, so that there is agreement.
Can I still get clarification on whether or not she can veto one line item? I still just want clarification on that. And if it's not, it's not. I just wanted to know.
I'll double check, but based on
Okay.
what I got, it looks like it's all or nothing, veto the whole thing or nothing, which is probably why we've not experienced that, at least not anytime recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool beans.
Mhm.
All right. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, Chair Williams.
I was just wondering, did everybody receive the background screen?
I got mine on.
I said, it was so professional. Thank you.
No, I didn't get it. At least I didn't.
Did you get it?
Miss
No.
Morning Wiggins just sent it to everybody. Miss Morning Wiggins
Okay.
just sent it to everybody.
Oh,
So
okay.
everybody will have it now, and you guys can put it back on the back. So see, we got it, Commissioner Williams. We got it.
Have a nice evening.
All right. Oh, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn at, what time is it, you all? I don't know the time.
7:14.
7:14. Have a nice evening.
Good meeting.
Oh, motion.
I second it. She was gone. She pressed the
No. She said, "All right, bye, y'all." That's the motion. Everybody say aye.
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 All right, bye, y'all.
Good one.
Now, y'all.
Bye.